When the war was over, though, in 1947, Admiral Richard Byrd, along with Chester Nimitz, who was the father of the nuclear navy, father of the submarine nuclear navy, Admiral Nimitz. We're talking about high-ranking naval officers, very honorable men. Richard Byrd was an explorer that went to the North Pole. They went down to South America, Antarctica, down to Antarctica, and they were engaged in what's called Operation High Jump. Now, how many has ever heard of Operation High Jump? It's been a while. I covered it in here. I talked about it some time back. Operation High Jump. Operation High Jump was supposed to be about exploration, finding this and that, so forth, coal deposits, what have you. That was all for public consumption. The real reason for them going into the Antarctica, which is the largest, for example, Antarctica is larger than the North America, United States of America, and Europe put together. It's a huge body of land, essentially wild, unexplored. All that's lying down there, and probably to this day, a lot of it is still wild and unexplored. And of course, one of the reasons, because of the harshness of the climate. But in any event, in 1947, over 4,000 troops, led by Admiral Richard Byrd, Admiral Chester Nimitz, and there was another admiral involved in it, went on this expedition called Operation High Jump to the Antarctica. Everything I've ever read says that the reason that they went down there was to try to find what could have been hidden Nazi bases from World War II. That the Nazis the Germans had hedged their bets and had created some places down there where they could hide some of this high technology that they had been working on before the end of World War II. Now, it wouldn't surprise me a bit that the Germans are smart people, and they undoubtedly had some backup, and if they saw maybe the war was turning against them, that they had made some provision like that. But what happened when they got down there is the story this morning. Admiral Richard Byrd wrote a diary. Now I say ostensibly he wrote the diary. I'll cover that in a moment. There is a diary, let me put it that way. There is a diary that exists that is supposed to be the diary of Admiral Richard Byrd. All right? This diary is supposed to be by his hand. There is no way we can prove the provenance of this thing one way or the other. There are those who say it is an absolute fraud. There are those who say it is absolutely genuine. If you take it as genuine, it will blow your socks off. If you take it as a fraud, then it immediately begs the question, then who did make it and why did they make it? All right? Here are some 4 points that I want you to notice about Operation High Jump. Now, let me tell you how relative this is. This is very relative to where you sit right now in 2015. Right now. It's more relative right now than it was a few years ago when I first covered this. We're living, folks, in the mantle of the Great Deception is falling. It's falling. It's coming down right now. Not coming, it's here. Here are 5 things that I want you to notice about Operation High Jump. They encountered UFOs. They encountered saucers, flying saucers.
We are going to come up against the limits of our own mortality in a way we never could before. And a lot of the things that happen, good and bad, will be stranger than anything ever written in science fiction.
Although as Minister of National Defense, I had sighting reports of UFOs. I was too busy to be concerned about them at the time because I was trying to unify the Army, Navy, and Air Force into a single Canadian Defense Force. And that itself was a kind of battle to the finish. So this was not high on my agenda. But about 10 years ago, I started getting interested due to a young man from Ottawa sending me material on the subject. I told him I was too busy to read it, but he had confidence that someday I would. It took me a while to get around to reading it, but I took it for my summer reading in 2005. And was really impressed with what was contained in it. And what I thought to myself is there are huge issues here, huge issues. And the American people and the people of the world have a right to know what's going on, because they're part of it. It's not just an isolated thing. I accept the invitation of Victor Vigiani, who's over here somewhere, and his cohort, Mike Byrd, to speak to a symposium at the University of Toronto. And I said, UFOs are as real as the airplanes flying overhead. That gave me the dubious distinction of being the first person of cabinet rank in the G8 group of countries to say so unequivocally.
We wanted to get as close to the military installation as possible without going onto government land. The land that we were on was public land.
BLM.
BLM, right, the Bureau of Land Management.
And pay you a visit. You told her this in advance of that particular event. Could you tell us a little bit about what happened there?
Well, actually, it was my friend from Alaska asked me. She said, do you think the security personnel that's been known to frequent this area will come out and visit us?
We're talking about the Wackenhut SS.
Yes, we are. Security personnel, so to speak, from Wackenhut International.
One of the nation's largest nuclear facilities. These are some of the security officers responsible for protecting it against a terrorist attack. An attack that could kill or injure tens of thousands, including people here in our area. But instead of being alert and prepared for anything, the officers are asleep. Unaware, a fellow guard is videotaping these disturbing images shot at different times of the day. The officers work here at Peach Bottom Nuclear Plant, located just outside of Philadelphia. Although it may seem like they're on a break, the reality is they're all on duty, carrying guns and wearing flak jackets, sitting in what's called a ready room, named that because it's just steps away from the nuclear reactors. And the men and women who work here are supposed to be at the ready to protect and defend the facility against a terrorist attack. A multi-billion-dollar company which owns Peach Bottom and most of the nuclear plants around the country. The security officers all work for Wackenhut, a firm which provides security for all of those plants. Now, after we showed the video to Exelon, a top executive wanted us to be the first to know our investigation has already brought change.
It soon became clear that the Nazis had a secret space program at Peenemünde and Nordhausen. The Hannibal craft utilized alternative propulsion systems such as vril power, possibly back-engineered from recovered crashed flying saucers.
We may or may not believe.
You expect me to believe that a flying saucer came down and took your friend away?
But courtesy of Hollywood, UFOs have been landing in the U.S. for many years. We've all seen them on the silver screen.
New York has come under attack. Witnesses claim to have seen hundreds of UFOs.
Alien life, and our world will never feel quite the same again.
Enough people claim to have spotted them in real life.
More people in this country have seen UFOs and I think approve of George Bush's presidency.
Including a handful of celebrities and politicians.
Did you see a UFO?
I did, and the rest of the account, it was unidentified flying object, okay? It's unidentified. I saw something.
You don't know why.
Nice Spy is a group of New York-based UFO investigators.
A blow-up shows that it has a traditional flying saucer shape, but we don't know what it is.
The ufologists are contacted by dozens of people every month, claiming to have had UFO encounters and wanting to find out more about what they had witnessed.
A UFO just means we see something in the sky, we don't know what it is, and as I said, 99% of the time it has a conventional explanation. But that 1% of the time, those are the cases that we're really interested in.
This group says curiosity about UFOs is largely ridiculed only because it's not a science that can be measured and proven in a lab.
That the Germans were in contact with at least a dozen alien races, all of them loosely grouped under one philosophical, political, religious program. And not only that, but that actually this grouping of extraterrestrial races were in their turn subcontracting for even higher levels of, let's call them celestial management structures. But we have discovered witnesses, a lady in Australia that worked shoulder to shoulder with extremely beautiful looking extraterrestrials in an underground base in Germany. She was a British spy, a Commonwealth spy in this underground base, and she has told us incredible stories about the close cooperation of the highest echelons of the German secret societies with extraterrestrials.
Many people have asked me, after they saw Project Red Light, the first film, if we had photographed any of these craft in the daytime. Well, here's your answer. I can't tell you what it is. I can't tell you what it's doing. I can't tell you how it's making that trail in the sky. All I can tell you is that it is brilliantly lit, just like the craft that flies at night. It is huge. It's approximately 20 miles away. This particular craft is moving very slowly, however. We suspect that they produce some kind of electromagnetic field which literally ionizes the air. Whereas it looks like the entire skin of the craft is glowing, it may be that it is ionizing the air, and it is the air that is glowing. Now that's just a supposition. I don't know that to be fact. Now watch what happens here. These things are absolutely incredible. When I was attached to the Office of Naval Intelligence many years ago, I learned that whatever you perceive as the state-of-the-art of any technology in the public sector, that they are at least 50 to 100 years ahead in secret. This videotape should prove to anyone who watches it that science fiction is no longer fiction, it is science fact. If this technology were available to the public sector, your guess would be as good as mine. This is one of the black helicopters that dogged us while we were making these video films. We saw this in the sky, and it probably is a natural phenomenon, but it was just too unusual to go unfilmed. It is a large Roman numeral 6. This is what's commonly known as a cigar-shaped craft hovering above the test site in daylight. You can see that it's right under the tip of that white cloud. It is metal. Through the binoculars you can clearly see that it is metal. It moves out from under the tip of that white cloud and actually moves sideways into the cloud bank behind it after moving some distance to the left. You'll watch it move to the left out from under the small cloud that it's sitting under, and then you will see it move away from the camera, directly away from the camera, and into the cloud bank behind it. It is a huge metal, unconventional type aircraft